la reunión. Muchas gracias por su atención.
Morning, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Muy buen dia a todos. This is a hybrid webinar, so I'm not impolite. I know I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking at the room. I'm looking at the room just to say good morning. Welcome, everyone. We have about 60 people online. It's still growing. And I'm really excited to welcome you all to this fantastic venue and our host here at the Ingenium Canada Agriculture and Food Museum. We've had a 2-day coffee fair. It's been fantastic, wonderful coffee, better than anywhere else in the country, I suspect, right now. And so it's a pleasure for me to welcome you all. I'm the ICA country representative. ICA is the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. We're headquartered in Costa Rica. I'm the head of the Canadian delegation here. And so we will have a 2-hour webinar on coffee in Central America with our partners from SICA countries. And we have a tight schedule, and I'd like to invite 2 guests to share some opening remarks. Her Excellency, the Ambassador from Panama first.
Bonjour à tous, buenos días, good morning. Dear John Charles and Carrie Lee, friends and colleagues, on behalf of the countries of the Central American Integration System, SICA, and Panama as the pro tempore presidency of the organization, we extend to those present today and those who accompany us virtually the most cordial welcome. We hope that this moment you are enjoying the aroma and flavor of a good Central American coffee, since the seminar, organized by the ICA delegation in Canada, will lead us to learn about the real world that hides behind a cup of coffee. The hands that harvested, their faces, gender policies, and the sustainability of the sector. We must highlight the Trefina plan, whose contributions to the development of a sustainable economic support the coffee sector, the role of women in Guatemala and Honduras, Costa Rica and its Coffee Institute, whose international promotion experience is a leader in the region, and our Coffee Guardian of Water from Panama, where each coffee bean represents an input for sustainability. Nicaragua brings us the experience of the producing farm and what to say about the potential of coffee in the Canadian market. Thanks to all our panelists today for their contribution and commitment to the region. Thank you.
And a bit of housekeeping just to remind the people in Zoom that you need to choose, there's an interpretation button in bottom right, and you can pick the language. So you can pick Spanish, and you can stick to it the entire session. There's live interpretation. Also en français, vous pouvez choisir, donc il y a un bouton d'interprétation en bas à droite. Et il faut choisir donc le bouton là pour pouvoir suivre la séance. I'm good, actually. So we're over to the Canada Agriculture Museum with their video opening remarks.
Excellencies, distinguished guests and panelists, guests and virtual audiences, welcome. My name is Carrie Birchall. I'm the Director General of the Canada Agriculture and Food Museum. The museum team is thrilled to be hosting the coffee route from Central America to Canada's cups. I would like to acknowledge that this portion of the webinar is being broadcast from the museum in Ottawa, which is situated on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Several years ago, the museum began partnering with SICA to raise awareness about the critical agricultural relationships between the Americas. Together, we have worked on an exhibition and programming that profiles sustainable development topics which benefit the quality of life in both hemispheres. Today, we are very excited to be into the second day of collaboration with SICA and the embassies of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, and the Dominican Republic to shine a spotlight on coffee. It may surprise some of you and most Canadians to know that the beans for the beverage that we love so dearly are grown and harvested abroad. While not a Canadian crop, coffee is listed as the most popular beverage amongst Canadian adults, according to a 2020 survey by the Coffee Association of Canada, consumed even more than tap water. We love our coffee. Add to this fact that coffee imports relate to over 160,000 jobs and over $6 billion in sales every year, and it is easy to understand why we are so excited to hear from today's panelists. So while I will not delay their presentations any longer, but I would be remiss if I did not extend an extra special thank you to Ambassador Romy Vasquez Morales for championing this event with SICA as a cultural extravaganza, and the museum, and to Dr. Jean-Charles Lavallee, Isabelle, and Gloria at SICA for putting on this special edition webinar. Thank you, merci, gracias.
We also have Mr. Trepanier from Jacob. He will be speaking later on in an hour, talking about experiences in the market and purchasing coffee from the region. I wanted to share with you, for those of you who aren't able to join us here in Ottawa, we've put together about a minute worth of slides as I'm speaking to get a flavor of the coffee that we've had over the last day. Fantastic reception, opening reception. We've had a demo kitchen, some coffee cake, and really it's a great way to celebrate a wonderful product. And beverages, we've had discussions with producers telling us about their passion for coffee and how they grow coffee. It's the road it takes all the way to consumption here in Canada. So in the next hour, we're going to have different sessions. We have like 8 countries participating, speakers from abroad, from all over Central America. And our next speaker will be a colleague of ours at SICA. His name is Harold Gamboa, and he's our in-house coffee specialist. And so in the next 10 seconds, maybe a couple more images, Isabel, Gloria, and then you can invite Harold to speak. Thanks.
Buenos días. Un cordial saludo a todas las
Good morning.
personas.
Welcome everyone joining us today. I am Harold Gamboa. I work with the Inter-American Institute on Cooperation for Agriculture, and I am a technical specialist on bioeconomy and productive development. I feel very pleased today of participating and collaborating with the event. We will be sharing with several stakeholders in the region to show you that coffee is much more than just a crop or a production system. In this seminar, we will show you the culture, the passion for coffee, and the way of life. So with not anything further, let's begin. I am sure that all of us who've had the opportunity of enjoying a coffee cup can say that this is a beverage that holds a very particular charm, and even in the way it is prepared, it is singular and unique. Many people throughout the world enjoy this wonderful taste and aroma at different times of day and different portions even. In my case, I take about 5 cups a day. It's a beverage that is prepared through the toasted beans, and after they've been ground, they come from the plant. They are harvested manually at the very optimum stage of maturity. The quality of coffee depends a lot on many factors of the genetics of the plant, the latitude, the altitude, the weather in the place where it is grown. And with these particular features, we can say that it is a tropical product. There is the coffee belt where it is grown. It's between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. And there's 3 large productive regions: Latin America, Africa, Arabia, and Asia, the Pacific. This tropical belt provides optimum weather for the plant with good temperatures that alternate between dry and wet seasons or cycles. You can see here in the graph, Central America is highlighted, and these areas that are, these seasons, the dry and wet, are quite clear and differentiated. Also, the altitude where coffee best develops is between the 700 to the 2100 meters above sea level, depending on the region and the latitude as well. Now, in this coffee belt, we have Central America, this beautiful region that you have started to know since you have the stands over there. It has always been a coffee growing region. You breathe and live coffee. There's a history and development all surrounding coffee. Central America has the necessary agroecological features to provide quality coffee. It is mainly Arabica coffee, and it has the very important resource we've mentioned already at the beginning, a very important part, which is the people that have the heart, the passion, and the culture and love for coffee. Over 370,000 producers, both men and women, make it possible for Central America to grow over 1 million hectares of coffee. The production is about 15 million coffee bags or sacks, and that's about 9% of worldwide production and 50% of coffee in the category of other soft coffees. This coffee growing culture also provides about 3.5 million direct and indirect jobs, so it becomes a very important driver for development in rural areas of the region. In Central American countries, the systems for coffee production are mainly in agroforestry systems, as we see in the picture on the right. This means that there's a similar condition to natural conditions of forests where coffee would have grown originally. And it helps conserve the biodiversity, protect water sources with this forest coverage, and improve the use of soils. It has contributed as well for rural communities to be able to better face the impacts of climate change and climate variability in the whole coffee growing region. Another very important feature is that these production systems mainly belong, probably more than 80% or even more than that, belong to small-scale producers. They have difficult living conditions in these types of systems in current times, by the way. So to summarize, and be sure to keep to my time, I will share the process of producing and industrializing coffee. This productive process in Central America is divided in 3 main stages. First, you have the agricultural production, then processing, and finally industrialization. In agricultural production, we have the different varieties that are grown, the production system itself, whether it's in direct sunlight or shade, and the level of technification. As for processing, there are 2 stages. First, you have to remove the pulp. which is done mechanically. It's just removing the skin, the red skin that covers the beans. Once this shell or pulp has been removed, and you see a machine there, it's a very small scale machine used in coffee farms to remove that. And then it goes through the fermentation process. And generally also it is cleaned afterwards. Then we have wet coffee. Although there's other processes now where it's not always cleaned and washed with water. After that, it is mechanically dried or dried in the sun. And that changes the coffee fruit to a dry coffee bean. After this process, the dried coffee bean that has 12% of humidity is ground. In this action, it is selected. In this action, there's another hull or very small covering, a dry cover that still is around the coffee. And so it changes from green coffee, as you might have heard, to gold coffee. The gold coffee or green coffee is then classified depending on its shape, size, and weight, following different purchasers' requirements and according to market requirements. So that was a bit more of the technical side. I'd like to also say that in Central America, like many other coffee producing countries in the region, there are constant challenges such as climate variability, the instability of coffee prices, the influence of diseases and pests, high indebtedness in the sector, the lack of youth participation, lack of labor. All this has a consequence on the production productivity of coffee. It also distorts the market and has a negative socioeconomic impact on the rural territories where we have agricultural production. An example of this is the productive cycle of 2012-2013. There was a large impact because of the pandemic of coffee rust at that time. If you do not know about this disease, it's a fungus that attacks the leaves and leads to lower productivity in coffee plants. That pandemic of 2012-2013 decreased production in the region by about 3 million sacks or bags. And it meant there was a big risk for the thousands of families that live off of coffee production in Central America. The scenario of coffee growers in the region was devastating at that time. Many of the coffee plantations in the region looked like what you see on screen. That pandemic also displayed the lack of resiliency the coffee growing sector had with an event of such a great magnitude brought on by climate variability. There were also other structural problems visible after this. Countries started then implementing different policies, strategies, and mechanisms to be sure to better contribute to resiliency and development and recovery of the productive sector. With this difficulty in the region and with funding from SICA and the European Union, the Central American Program for Integrated Management of Coffee Rust was created to contribute to mitigate the impacts brought on by this disease. This program was implemented for 5 years, and it was very well complemented by our current regional policies and the national policies of coffee growing countries. The objective of this program was mainly to provide greater resilience to small coffee growing families, considering the impacts of climate change and climate variability. One more minute, Harold. Thank you. The program benefited over 7,000 coffee producers under 190 producer associations. Of them, 34% were women, 10% young people under the age of 30. And one of the main achievements in the program was the contribution of improving the income for coffee producing families, and that also led to a good control of the rust disease, and production increased by 28 to 42%. Also, very importantly, diversified coffee growing models were implemented with multi-strata growing strategies so that producers could have more income besides what they received from coffee itself. So besides the primary production, the program also helped create a capitalization fund with 168 producer associations, providing access to new credit for more than 1,900 producers so they could reinvest in their farms. The program also created important regional public good to contribute to the resiliency of the coffee growing sector. For example, the creation of the regional early warning network. This is an initiative that helps make decisions on time to prevent. Sorry, we have to stop.
Muy amable.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I apologize. It was a wonderful presentation. But we do have
I want to make sure that we have time to allow everyone to participate and give them sufficient time to present their perspectives. And Harold, this is very rich, and I'd like to tell everyone that this session is being recorded. It'll be on our ICA Canada webpage, and the presentation itself is more complete, and you can get in touch with Harold at ICA anytime. We're happy to share his contact information so you can get a copy of the presentation. I want to invite next, we have a wonderful video from Panama. Elsa Martinez Ovalle is part of the Association of Coffee Growers of the Subcuenca in Panama. The section is, part of the country is called Rio City Grande Trinidad del Canal de Panama. Fantastic video, and I'd like to invite Gloria to share it with everyone now, please.
Coffee that takes care of water. I am Elsa Martinez. I am from the Nacimiento community. I am current president of the Association of Coffee Growers at the sub-basin of City Grande in Trinidad in the Panama Canal. I would like to share what I have lived in terms of programs and projects that the authority of the Panama Canal has provided for the northern area of Capita, in our case, in rural areas. We produce good coffee, but I'd like to share a bit of history, how we achieved this, because before 2010, it was very traditional. We didn't even have enough density of growth, but with the support of the Panama Canal Association and the executing company, we've been able to learn. We now know the correct density to grow, whether 4x4, 3x4, 4x3, and we've managed to make the most of the use of our soil. We produce coffee, but we can also produce other crops that help our sustainability and feed our families while the coffee is growing. We've also been able to become, as producers, I would say empirical technicians even. We are there every day applying good practices we've learned, because in order to sell our coffee, we are convinced that to ensure its sustainability, we have to provide good quality. And good quality is achieved by ensuring good management from the nurseries, the plots, how we dry the coffee, how we shell it, when it comes to the mill, and when it comes out and finally goes to its destination. Personally, For me, and I know for all our associates, this has been a wonderful learning opportunity. We have learned not just to produce coffee, but also to taste it, to appreciate it. We've learned about the 3 types of roastings, the dark, medium, and light roasts, because we know there's different clients for all. The market has clients that will pay for these types of coffees. And in the end, all this helps us maintain good quality in the market. I would say that the most valuable thing we learned in all our area is that we also saw the importance of the role of women, not just as maybe a head of household or someone at the core of the household, but to prove women's capacities to become business managers. I say this because we are not just managing the family business. Today, we are also a good example of how to manage an association, a company with associates, and we have a vision to the future, not just for our association, but for all producers in the area, all the other producers and associations in the area. Last year, we started with the celebration of the day where we celebrate the coffee harvest. And we want producers to sell their coffee through our association. We want them to see how their efforts are reflected in earnings thanks to coffee. I am a firm believer in associations that can organize themselves and this way receive great benefits and also cash, capital, so that our families can continue living better with better living conditions. Coffee has led us to discover so many things. And I can summarize it by saying that behind the coffee cup, there's so many opportunities. And I really live this with passion. Coffee is something that we know is the second most important beverage worldwide. There's a good demand, there's good supply, and it will always be there. We are convinced that we can maintain the good quality the market demands. All producers may not be at the same level right now. I agree with that, but we would like to have all our producers at the best quality level by applying good practices in the field. We know that we will not just keep our forests green, but we will also ensure sustainability for our families. Families improve their quality of life. And there's many ways in which young people today, even children, can see their future in a rural area as a small company, small business, in the large association we are, because we might have engineers, accountants, everyone working, a whole series of professionals that can work with the association. And we know we have the capacity to do that. We see our children and grandchildren capable of doing this. So we are truly contributing to the whole area of the Panama Canal, taking care of our water resource as well, because we cannot live without that. We can achieve so much together. So for us at our association, it has been wonderful to discover these great opportunities. It has been a wonderful learning opportunity. And I hope that we have not just found women in these organized groups that will fight for our families and our communities, but for all women to continue fighting for the well-being of their children, of their communities, because together as rural women, even though we might live in places that have difficulty communicating with other areas and where it might be difficult to start producing, it is not a real obstacle for us. We can move forward and sustain ourselves. To close, I would like to invite all of you that are following us It's very valuable for me to share my experience with you, and I invite all women, all organizations that work in coffee to remember that it's not just for your families. You are reaching every family every day where there's a good cup of coffee. So we want to motivate everyone to feel that way when you wake up every day, to thank God for all these wonderful opportunities. When you see your coffee plot with the plants producing, harvesting, and bringing that to everyone's cups in Panama and worldwide. And we hope you can enjoy a good cup of coffee and be feel part of the conservation of water resources, even if you're not here with us. We know that you are also contributing, and it reaches every family.
Great video, Elsa. Yes. And Elsa is absolutely right, because women make up half the labor force in coffee, but they only own about 25-30% of coffee production in Central America. So there's ways to go still to empower. And I was talking to a producer from Honduras at the fair, and he was saying that women are better workers. Their attention to detail and to quality is stronger than men, and made for better coffee. So now he employs like 80-90% women in his farm. So great story. Thanks, Elsa. I'd like to shift away now. We're going to move from Panama to Guatemala. And I'd like to invite Marta Villagrán Ramirez as part of the National Coffee Association, Ana Café, in Guatemala. Next, please.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Mucho
Good
gusto.
morning, everybody. My name is Marta Villagrán. I am an expert of projects for National Coffee Association, and for me, it is a pleasure to be here with you today and to tell you about our sustainability strategy regarding the coffee growers, the women coffee growers in Guatemala. First, Ana Café was founded in 1960. We are a service institution providing services to coffee producers, to providing
Los
innovative.
productores y la caficultura nacional. ¿Qué tipo de servicios ofrecemos? Transferencia de tecnología.
We also help with technology transference, promotion, the coffee school, market access. We have a small roastery, the service producers, and we promote this nationally through fairs. Let me talk a little bit about Guatemalan coffee. Guatemalan coffee is constituted by more than 125,000 producing farmers that cultivate 305,000 hectares in 500,000 municipalities in the country. It provides more than 500,000 of employment in Guatemala. In 2018, the production process was considered as intangible heritage, thanks to the effort of the producer families and everybody in the coffee growing activity that help us to give us a good coffee cup. Guatemala is the 8th exporting country according to the OC statistics. Export destination, 90% of specialty coffee in Guatemala is exported to global markets. 50% of coffee that we produce is exported to North America, United States, Canada, and Mexico. And 23% of coffee goes to Asia, and the other 23% goes to Europe. 4% of the remaining coffee goes to the rest of the world, and 87% of coffee produced in Guatemala is hard beans. It means that coffee is really a specialty, special, and with high quality according to the international standards. Guatemalan coffee contributes to the global development goals. in 11 goals. 5 objectives are met. We contribute through the foundation, which is the Coffee Activity Foundation, and 6 of them are promoted from our national association. Now, let me show you how Guatemalan coffee promotes sustainability. Communities that are sustainable. For more than 60 years, Anacan has shown the commitment regarding human rights of coffee grower families. And to do so, we have designed and published a series of policies, sectoral policies, that relate not only to the coffee production, but also in the life of people that are part of this sector. In 2019, we launched our policy to promote equity between men and women, that I'm going to talk about it now. Policy to promote equity between women and men was launched in 2019, and it appears after the recognition of the importance of women participation as agents of knowledge and know-how and as a basis of the rural economy. That is why, motivated and prioritizing and showing the participation of women, we launched this policy, and also we aim to promote equitable space, responsible space of women in their communities. Excuse me. For this policy in 2018, we first made an assessment to learn about the current situation of women in the coffee sector. We divided the groups into 3 segments. The first, small producers organizations. Number 2, producer families. And number 3, individual productive unit, small and medium and large sizes. Let me show you the result of this assessment and also the efforts we have been implemented to promote the empowerment of women, of coffee women. Let me talk about the population and Guatemalan population. In Guatemala, 52% of the total population are women, 48% are men. So on right to the right, you can see the percentage of coffee producers and the participation of women in the coffee activities, just 33%, and 67% are men. This, it does not mean that the women, the power of women is not reflected in the things we do. However, we notice that there is a gap that we need to overcome. Guatemalan producers by age. We have a young population and Guatemalan producers. They are very active, interested in the coffee chain, particularly in the development of the local industry. However, we see that 58% of producers participating in this assessment are adult, and most of them are men. And we have a population over 51 years old that are still active in the coffee production. And through them, the best practices have been transferred from generation to generation. How is women's participation in relation to coffee production and commercialization? We see that the young population is really interested. 67% of young women have a quite active participation in terms of production and marketing. And in the group of adults, the participation reduces a little bit. However, there is an important effort of adult women in order to participate, to be active agents, not only in their cooperatives, but also in their communities. So this is a dual task that we love to recognize. 41% of the producers, organizations, memberships are women. So that shows that there is an important interest to participate. There is a lot of interest in making their voice to be heard. And this is what we are waiting for as an association. Women participation in coffee production. We just saw the blue line, which is the harvest. Most women, young and adult women, participate in the coffee harvesting, or they follow the main activities in developing seeds and nutrition, which is seedling, and which is nutrition of the plants. A second group of activities in the land preparation, soil preservation and conservation without including weeds. And women are also involved in cost and administration matters. And this is something we like to address in our trainings, to give them their voice and to strengthen their skills. That they can innovate and transform not only their coffee company, but the community as well. After this assessment, I would like to talk a little bit about our policy.
Perdón, Marta, un minuto. Y su
Just one
implementación.
more minute. So we have promoted,
Gracias a los
so
esfuerzos.
thanks to the efforts, we have 27% of female leadership, 30% of female participation in the groups, 3 cooperatives, only integrated and managed by producers, by women producers, and 3 entrepreneurships. I would like to leave you with a video of our heroine in coffee production. She will give us her testimony.
Perdón, tarda un poco, ya no demora.
Just hold on. It will start very soon.
Mi nombre es Andrea
My
Pérez.
name is Andrea Perez Gonzalez. I am the current chair of the Administration Council, and I also am the legal representative of the cooperative, the voice that claims in the desert from San Juan Laguna, Solola. 15 years ago, I became a member of this cooperative, and I get involved in all the activities, and I love to participate in them. And I like to participate till I have a position as a chair of the administration council of the cooperative. We coffee growers, women, we play an important role in the development of the community. We can do this development through the coffee process, working coffee from the field, the whole process, marketing, and we provide an economy to our families. If we help our families, we improve education, food, and if there is an income in the family, there is development in the community. It is possible to move forward towards equality. We women, if we accept the challenge to participate, we can get to level ourselves with men because we have capacities as well, but it depends on us as women. If we want to take the spaces that we found in life, I invite women to continue working. Let's fight for a better development for our families. Let's work coffee in the whole process. Let's participate. Let's take the spaces that we found in life. Let's participate in the decision-making processes. We women, we can. We have the capacity. So I invite you not to be afraid. Let's participate and let's fight. Happy Women's Day. Greetings for everybody.
Muchas gracias y cualquier información.
Thank you. Any additional information, I remain at your service. As we used to say in Guatemala, if coffee is okay, Guatemala is okay. But if growers, female growers are empowered, we have equitable and sustainable communities. Thank you very much.
Fantastic presentation, Marta. I really enjoyed the video. I think there's very, very strong messaging there. And I think it definitely resonated for people in the room here. Thanks again. I'd like to then shift from Guatemala to Honduras. There's a really strong coffee institute there. We have Juan Lozano with us. From there, he's the coordinator of the Agroforestry Environment and Climate Change Program at the Honduran Coffee Institute. Over to you, sir.
Juan Lozano.
Bueno, sí, aquí estamos.
Here we are.
Ok, me dicen inicio.
Should I begin?
Ok.
Yes, sir.
Buenos días.
Good morning. A pleasure to be with you and to be able to share a little bit of the coffee activity here in Honduras. In this case, we will focus on the development of agroforestry. With that, we are impacting the sector to promote sustainable market access in the whole agroindustrial chain. Our coffee production, 50% of the areas are on the agroforestry systems, which is our main mitigation practice regarding the climate change. As you can see, this is one example of what we are doing with the areas that we are restoring with other agricultural activities under this principle of agroforestry systems. For you to know a little bit about our coffee sector, at the national level, we are present in 15 departments out of the 18 departments of our country. Some 220 municipalities out of 298. We have a cultivated area of some 300,000 hectares, and these are managed by some 120,000 producing families. 95% of our producers are small growers, those who manage from 3 to 5 hectares on a farm. 3% medium-sized producers and 2% larger producers. For you to understand the context of the producers in the country, importance of the coffee sector in Honduras. Why? We have economic importance. We are the main line item of export. We export some 8% of the GDP, national GDP, and 38% of agricultural product. We generate from 1,000 to $1,500 million for the country. Environmental importance, most of our coffee production is within water recharge regions protected with coverage. We have a lot of biodiversity of flora and fauna. So where the coffee activities, the agroforestry part is one of the things that we used to promote. The agroforest, the coffee agroforest that we are managing as producers is from 92% shade. The social aspect, more than 120 families where the family integration is promoted. We generate more than 1 million of employments annually, and we reduce migration because of unemployment. So coffee activity, coffee growing, one of the components to show the market that manage this concept of responsibility, one of the main components is the environmental protection and promotion of best practices. Institutionality
Plana técnica, ¿verdad? El programa de agroforestería.
has created, includes within the technical plan, the agroforestry program that works the environmental part and the mitigation part. We manage these 6 pillars from establishment of agroforestry systems with this major principle to be able to mitigate, to face climate change, and to make our producers to be more resilient. We support in the process and access of legality to the producer in legal matters, and we provide the advisory necessary. Also, the national responsibility of the country through getting the operational and environmental permits they require. We annually make an environmental assessment to the processing part, to the wet and dry mills, in order to monitor the environmental impact being produced annually with the coffee production. Something very important, which is a major principle to design the strategy of extension or technical assistance to our producer is the vulnerability analysis that we carry out to the producer. So we generate diagnosis locally, regionally, and nationally in order to define our action lines towards the coffee growing and to address climate change. As in any process, everything related to the knowledge management at the research level and at the level of any training process, both formal and non-formal education, to empower producers in this way to make them more competitive in the market. Something and innovative the institution has considered as a cross-cutting access is the measurement of the environmental footprint of the whole coffee chain production. So to present to the market this coffee with social responsibility, one of the main pillars is the environmental aspect. So we manage this methodology to verify our commitment with that. One example, not only the institution manages different coordinations with different projects. This is an image where we manage projects in the Trefina region, north, west the country. We work with one of the projects for climate and the other one is called Pronecta, and that helps us to promote all these actions that we develop to make coffee, natural coffee growing more resilient till being able to implement our actions nationally appropriated for the sector. As you can see, we promote the agroforestry system part. As I said at the beginning, this is our main tool to manage landscape that we promote the most because of the mitigation part, the training part, and the diversification part all over the chain.
De vulnerabilidad, pues el sector
To
pues
talk a
tiene
little bit about vulnerability, the sector has its own tools. In agreement with the neighboring countries, we develop a tool to measure vulnerability. And with that, we can always define the category where our producers are located.
Nuestra priorización de prácticas anualmente, ¿verdad? Que debemos de...
I lost him. So to develop or address issues with our coffee growers for them to achieve this process to adapt to climate change. We can see some images and the whole part of the process. Something interesting, and this is the national coffee activities committed to is the environmental footprint of the coffee. Our coffee is a coffee with responsibility, and we are presenting our coffee with this concept. To give this coffee commitment the producer has in order to ensure sustainability in the production, showing that we are managing a reduction of the impacts. As part of the process, we have defined the life cycle of our productive chain regarding the crop processing and distribution, and we manage this. We manage this from the crate to the tomb. So from the seed to the pour of departure of our coffee. This is always considering the small, medium-sized, and large producer in the productive phase till getting to this commitment that led us to respond to standards, in this case, European standard, who led us to respond to this environmental footprint, showing 16 indicators that the national coffee production commits to reduce impacts in each one of the lines. And to do so, we were able to develop pilots with some cooperatives to develop our methodology that will lead our imports of our coffee in the different regions, in different coffee regions, to be able to ensure the buyer that we have a coffee, a responsible coffee, but we can also give something else. We can make this commitment of zero deforestation. We can ensure that our farms may generate a neutral water footprint, and our system infiltrates enough water to compensate the water use in the whole chain and the neutral carbon footprints. Since our coffee growers are agroforestry, with that we can manage a neutral carbon footprint. Thank you very much.
Excellent presentation, Juan. I've really enjoyed that part. The environment is so important, and you can see it with the interest that we're getting in deforestation at the announcement at the COP26 in Scotland last year, and in preparation for COP27 in Egypt this year. It's a large issue, so well done. I'd like to then move now to Nicaragua. We've got Gonzalo Castillo. He's a national board member of the Commission for the Transformation and Development of Coffee Growing in the country. Over to you, Gonzalo.
Sí, buenos días a todos. Necesito que me ponga la presentación en...
Good morning.
Adelante. Buenos días. Mi presentación
Good morning. My presentation is in the market of my farm, a small farm, 15 hectares, more or less, with some varieties, H1 hybrids. Here you can see the Central America H1, which is a gourmet coffee.
Para poder vender café
to sell coffee or to position a specialty market, we need to see coffee with some characteristics that excel in the quality management history region. So Arabica coffee, high quality, specialty or gourmet. In the case of my farm, all of them are hybrids, H1, called Central America H3. We have H17, certified coffee, and with defined standards, such as fair trade, organic, rainforest, UTZ certified, Starbucks, and Amigo de los Pájaros, birds friend, and women hands. So the coffee meets the characteristics a buyer establishes as quality parameter. What are the best origins? This is the entrance to my farm. What are the best origins? This is my grandson and my daughter. Costa Rica and Guatemala, Brazil, Colombia and Ethiopia, Kenya, Indonesia, Salvador, Nicaragua, Mexico, and India are the main origins of my coffee, as well as Peru. Information about the trends. What are the trends of market consumption of specialty coffees? My wife, my granddaughter, and my daughter. This is our meal. So we need to see the trends. Coffee trends from countries. What are the expectations? Growth expectations in Japan, 10% annually. Roasters are not clear about the concept. They require more information. The growth is observed in coffee shops, restaurants, and consumption at home.
There's more and more cafeterias, cafes, even here in Nicaragua, in my city. In spite of the pandemic, many new areas have opened with quality coffee. In Europe, Australia, the US, these are also places that are consuming increasingly more coffee. Next slide. Here you see my 3 children. And a good way to start is with what you have right there in hand. First, you have to know your plantation perfectly. You have to be familiarized with the weather and your ecological environment. Acquire the information to have a good criteria on the market to understand it and how to take advantage of it. You have to have market information, weather in their countries, consumer trends, international meetings. All these should be considered when you make decisions. Next slide.
Beneficio seco.
To have the difference between the dry and wet mills. Here we see a simple example of one. In this type of mill, first, you only remove the red beans. You don't harvest any others. It have to be very ripened ones. And then it is cleaned. There's also another process, the honey process. This is where you have a natural process. These three processes are performed in our farm. Here we see the rustic tools that we use. Some of these are built with bamboo, and then they're covered with a cloth. The African beds. This is a weather station to have precision agriculture. We also have meetings with coffee growers to exchange experiences. We have producers visit us. This is the honey coffee. Here we see more of this honey process. Different pictures of that same process. You see the tunnels where it is dried. This is natural coffee. With the natural process, the whole fruit is dried. We can keep advancing the pictures. And we have other sub-products. We have the pulp here, or the shell. We can also prepare meals like a coffee meal and tea. There are many uses for this currently. We're also exporting this. Here we see some picking. This is our brand, and it's the first thing you do with the brand. It's very well known in Taiwan, Canada, the United States, Australia. We have to have a brand. This is a processed, natural washed honey. This is my own publicity. Here I prepare my own coffee bags and sacks. Here's the branding process. And here we see the end product branded. I sell this to my purchasers. I send this, to my purchasers. They like to have the whole process. We've won this award 4 times. And this is platform for publicity.
Control de calidad, adelante, control de calidad.
Quality control, several pictures here related to quality control. Again, more quality control. This is essential for each lot. You have a minute left. Thank you. Next slide. Next slide, please. It's very important also to consider how you package it.
A ver, por favor. El empaque son sacos de 30 kilos. Adelante.
These are 30-kilogram bags.
Empaques de tipo de empaque, en caja, vacío.
These are different ways to package it.
Ahí van los tres sacos, los tres colores.
Here you see the different colors of the bags. Black is natural coffee, red is honey coffee, and yellow is washed coffee.
Atención a los compradores. Adelante.
Here we are receiving some of our purchasers.
Next. Atención a compradores. Next.
Different pictures of us with our purchasers. Here we see a Canadian buyer. This is with a specialized taster from the NCAA, the US.
Next.
And we're promoting our coffee here.
Ahí estamos en promoción del café. Next. Más adelante. Y esta es una promoción en Japón.
This is in Taiwan and Japan, promoting our coffee. We received an award about 3 years ago before the pandemic. And we are in Japan, Taiwan, US, Starbucks, with a new market, very special. It takes some time. If I have time, I will show a video. Sorry, we don't have time. I apologize. We don't have time for the video. Okay, thank you very much.
Gonzalo, I'm very happy with the presentation. I'm happy when the audience drops their phones and pays full attention. It shows the degree of interest they have in your presentation. Lots of entrepreneurship, really a fantastic business model and inspiring for other producers, coffee producers. I find really enjoyable listening to you, and I'm sorry we couldn't watch your video. I wanted to invite now, we're going back to Guatemala. We have the President of the Board of Guppo Mariposa, Luis Miguel Castillo Lavagno. Over to you, sir.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's an honor for me to be here telling a little bit of the history of what we do and what we want to do in the coffee business. First of all, I'm glad that you're organizing this event, especially in Canada. I was checking the data yesterday, and incredibly, but Canada became the second buyer of Guatemalan coffee last year. Traditionally was Japan, but since last year is what is the second buyer of that. So I think this is a very important event, and we look forward to supply more of our quality coffee to a great country like Canada. So I'm a business person, guy from Guatemala. I'm in the food and beverage business. My company does business throughout the Americas. But 10 years ago, we decided to get into the coffee business. And first was of the consumer insights. Consumer is very engaged with coffee everywhere in the world, right? Coffee used to be something that was like a very something you use in the morning to wake up, but that changed into something even more deep for any culture. Coffee now, it's everywhere we go, and people start enjoying high quality coffee, right? And so because of that, we as a company decided to go into the coffee business 10 years ago. And also something that really triggered that decision was that we were looking at all of this business being created around coffee, Starbucks, Costa, all of these big chains creating over $200 billion in market cap. But actually the growers were not getting anything. In the contrary, growers were being squeezed out by all of this, and they were getting $100, $150 a bag. With that, you cannot cover costs, right? So while Starbucks and all of these big chains were making a lot of money, we in our countries and the industry were struggling in a way. So we decided to go into the business, not only to capture a big opportunity, but also bring dignity to the growers, right? So in all of the business model we created a business model that starts at $300 a bag of coffee. So my message to my people said, we have to do business with $100 plus or back. If not, we're not doing business, right? So we started doing that. We committed $200 million to invest behind companies in Latin America. So we have done 7 acquisitions around coffee. We're the second largest coffee marketer in the region, and we're just starting. And we're really trying to capture all of these great things about coffee and bring it to the developed countries in a form of a processed coffee, either instant or ground coffee, but also in the coffee shop type. We already have around 300 coffee shops between Mexico and Central America. We plan to do more, and we actually have plans to go to the United States to do so. So with this, I think, and I encourage the other business people in the region, in Honduras and in Nicaragua and El Salvador, to actually come and look to do business in this, right? And I really hope we get these people engaged in trying to do this, because at the end, it's not just the growers that are gonna take coffee to the next level, but it's also us business people trying to do this. So this is in a nutshell what we're trying to do. Now we're expanding throughout the Americas, and with a big focus right now in the United States. And I hope because of this, we can start doing things in Canada. I think we're already doing some business with some coffee shops in Canada, but I think for Guatemala, now that Canada is the #2 buyer, there are a lot of things we can do. So I would like to open, I don't know if we can do this through the technology, up to questions or anything else you want to know about how business people in Guatemala or in the coffee industry feels about the opportunity in Canada.
Well, actually, Luis Miguel, I'm going to suggest you add your contact information in the chat and put the website to your business. And I think there may be a question about when you say, in terms of volume, you were talking about bags, but we weren't sure about what, is that 60 kilos?
100,
yesterday I was talking to a farmer.
It's a quintal.
Quintal, okay.
Yeah, and right now the price is around 250. When I started doing business with coffee was $100. With $100, what I know is not enough money even to pick up the coffee, right? So right now it's at a very, it's at a better price. That's the price the growers are getting in Guatemala. I know it's not the price you're buying the coffee for. So you see the big arbitrage between that.
Right, I was watching the growth of the coffee price. The global commodity, the value over 12 months has grown by 46% in the last year.
And I'm very glad about that. But that was created because of external reasons, not because of the right reason.
Okay. There's a farmer from El Salvador at the coffee fair in Ottawa. He was telling me that the Japanese, and we saw the growth figure from the presentation from Nicaragua, he's talking about 10% growth. They were willing to pay $93 US a pound for their coffee from El Salvador. That was amazing. I was blown away.
Yeah, but you know the sad story is you sell $100 a pound, but when you get into the middleman and all of that, the grower is still getting $200, right?
Right.
And that's actually what we want to fix. We want to create a bridge between the grower and the real business. We're coming with a big project next year in the US where a consumer is going to be able to tip the farmer. Depends on the quality of coffee. So we're using technology. So when you buy a bag of coffee, you will have something to connect to the farmer. And imagine you tipping, I don't know, in a cup of coffee, $1, they get no more than 6 cents of a cup of coffee in a coffee shop. So how we can close that gap and really make the growers prosper.
There's an application on the fishery side in Canada. It's called This
Yes.
Fish, where you can
we're working
follow.
with them. Yes.
Okay, so you're aware of it. And just
Yes,
for the people
actually,
in the
that's the
room-
technology that enabled us to do what we're doing with coffee.
Excellent.
And it's actually called Tip the Farmer.
Well, my thanks for Luis. Very interesting conversation. I wish we had a half hour just between us, but I need to move on the schedule. I'd like to invite everyone to thank you for your presentation. And please add your information in the chat room. The next presenter is from Costa Rica. She's Teresita Jara Corrales, the International Promotion Executive at the Costa Rican Coffee Institute. Over to you, Teresita.
Buenos días.
Good morning. This morning, we are going to talk about the real value of Costa Rican coffee. I am Teresita Jara, and I am in charge of international promotion of Costa Rican coffee. I'll share my screen.
Teresita, yo la puedo compartir desde acá.
I can share the presentation for you if you're having problems. I think I managed. Thank you.
¿La pueden ver ahí bien?
Can you see it?
Sí, señora.
Perfecto.
Yes. Thank you.
Bueno, ¿cuál es el verdadero valor de café?
So what is the real value of Costa Rican coffee? For some time now, ICAFE, the Institute for Coffee in Costa Rica, has been regulating coffee activity in Costa Rica. It also does research and promotes nationally and internationally coffee grown in Costa Rica. And it works on the triple utility of sustainability: economic, social, and environmental sustainability. This has meant great added value to our coffee. In financial terms, sustainability implies reaching 2.5 million quintales or quintals by 2024. This is a 5-year project. And although this year production did have a decrease, we have had good results in the implementation of this plan. We want producers to have increased productivity to provide them more income. How will we ensure this happens? We have R&D. Our technical department at ICAFE does much research, and through different means, it provides results and information for producers so they may implement them at their farms. We also implement technological tools that are accessible for growers, and they can easily put these practices into practice in their farms. We have a mobile app, CR Café, where producers can have direct access to our technicians and extension workers, and they don't have to wait for a technician to visit them at the farm. They can ask questions through the app, upload pictures, and provide information so they get assistance through the app. In the environmental and social side, we have insurance for coffee pickers. This project is developed with the Costa Rican Social Security Board and the Ministry of Labor. And the goal is that coffee pickers would have access to medical attention during the coffee growing season, the coffee picking season. A few weeks back, we launched our gender policy for the coffee sector. And with that, we are trying to have equal opportunities for women and participation of women throughout all the coffee value chain. with strategic resources and also providing support in terms of tax-related issues and adaptation to climate change. We want women participation to be more visible throughout the whole value chain. In Costa Rica, we have a large percentage of women coffee growers who are also heads of household, so we would like them to have more access to resources that can help them better develop their business. We also have a project called Houses of Joy, Casa de la Alegria. These are daycare centers for children that are the children of coffee growers. Many people during the coffee picking season travel to the farms, and so they have daycare centers that provide food, medical attention, and education to the children so they don't have to be on the farm with their parents and that they are not exposed to all the dangers that may be present for children in the farms. This is being developed with other state institutions that provide funding for the daycare centers. It's a benefit, especially for migrant families. We also have many families that come from Nicaragua or Panama to pick coffee during the season. In these daycare centers in the past 5 years, we have had about 2,500 children participating, so it's a very important project. For this year, we also have a new policy that we're preparing, the policy for generational integration, or the youth policy. The idea is to have more involvement of young people in coffee growing activities. We've seen that there's less interest by young people to be part of this, so we would like to create new tools that motivate young people to continue the activity their parents and grandparents have been developing. As for the environmental side, we have the NAMA Coffee project. I will give more detail in a second. We also have the project of incentives. There are non-reimbursable funds that coffee mills receive for them to apply changes in technologies and new practices that can lead to the reduction of carbon emissions. So if there's a way for them to prove that they have undergone these changes or bought new equipment, they can receive up to $10,000 for each of the practices they implement for coffee in their mills. So that is not just for the environmental side, but also for financial reasons, of course. Then we have the Coffee Agroforestry Systems. This is a project that is open to coffee growers if they wish to receive, for example, trees to plant in their farms. For every tree they plant that survives over 3 months, they receive $1.8. So this does not only help them also financially, but also the environmental side and for shade growing production. With this project, we have already planted over 130,000 trees. You have 1 minute. Thank you. And so for the NAMA project for coffee, we have 100 mills participating. We've trained over 7,000 producers, over 24,000 hectares with good practices. I know we don't have much time, so I'd like to close with a short video on a traceability and sustainability project we are developing, and I can give you more information. I'll give my contact details to the chat.
Muchas gracias.
Fantastic video, Teresita. I think Luis Miguel, on the, the last speaker, he needs to talk to you because it's exactly what he wants to do. So, and I was really glad it was two women, particularly for me. I thought that was really smart marketing and empowering for women. I'm seeing in the chat, we had close to 90 people, and the sound is working well here, so it may be a local issue. We have 3 more presentations today. So we're going to switch over, instead of going online, we're coming back to the room here in Ottawa at the museum. And we have an importer with us from J Coffee. Yes. That's the, okay, great. Felix Williams Trepani, over to you.
That is me. You can hear me? Okay, perfect. So hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me at SICA today. My name is Felix Williams Trepanier. I am half Jamaican, half Canadian. I've been in the coffee business for about 4 years, so I'm kind of freshly new in the business. And we've been focusing on we started selling Jamaican coffee, so Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee initially, and then we diversified our portfolio through other origins, such as Coffea Diversa from Guatemala and Costa Rica. They have 2 farms. And we do also Haitian coffee in the Caribbean, a little bit of Kenyan coffee, and a little bit of Colombian coffee. So, yeah, like I said, I've been in the business for 4 years. We connect basically the growers. So we work directly with growers in the producing countries, with the farmer, with the roasters here in Canada. We have about, across Canada, maybe 100 different clients that we work with, some big, some small. So we do have like people who buy for Costco, so large clients, and then we have the small mom and pop shop who will roast their coffee and sell it, to their local clientele, like on the corner of the street. So really, our business is to match the quality and the coffee of the growers, so all the people that we saw, and many, many more who do such a great job with the roasters, and then subsequently the client, right? So who tastes the coffee. And as I was watching the whole presentation, it's like, man, there's so much work that goes into coffee, and people, they don't realize, sometimes, like when I started, I didn't even realize that coffee was a cherry. You just think it comes brown and that's it, so, which is pretty great. It's been really a learning curve to be in the coffee industry in general, both going to the farms, learning the processes, and then selling that coffee to the coffee roasters. So telling the story of the coffee grower is super important to us to be able to increase the value that is produced at origin, and so that we can communicate that to the roaster, and then the roaster can communicate that to their clients as well. And the good news is, in Canada, I haven't been to Ottawa in about 2 years, and the amount of small coffee roasters that have grown here, and it's exponential. And people care so much more about the quality of the coffee that they drink and the taste of the coffee. So, I mean, there's a market for everyone. So that's really good news for smaller, coffee growers, or larger ones who want to do, commercial coffee. But there's space for, the specialty or the ultra specialty coffee grower who want to sell some coffee into Canada. So I made a little slide for our audience, maybe coffee growers who are at origin, and maybe think that growing coffee or selling coffee into Canada is tricky. Really, if I could do it 4 years ago, I was not in coffee business, not in distribution. Anybody can do it, right? So I'm kind of like spilling the beans. Maybe some importers might, the bigger ones will be like, oh my God, what is this guy saying? But you can put the next slide on. Really, like I said, we try to connect people with people. Basically, that's what we do. We tell a story. So I made a little slide to show, what we do, really the market evaluation, and what we do in the Canadian market is really, I made this slide in like 10 minutes with my girlfriend, super easy. And this is really what the key aspects of what a coffee grower who wants to come into the market needs to do. I mean, obviously they need to export their coffee, but if they can build their business here or have a representative here that can receive the coffee, you know, that's pretty much it. Once the coffee is in Canada, you just got to hit the pavement. You got to go and meet the coffee roasters, give them your coffee, explain your story, and have a good coffee at a good price. So, you know, first things first, you need to evaluate if your coffee is good. Does it taste good? How much do you have in terms of coffee? And what's the price? So evaluate if you can fit into this market segment, right? So if you have a lower than specialty coffee and you're trying to sell it at $10 a pound, it's going to be very tough. But if you have a good quality price ratio, you have a business for sure, because there's always people looking for new coffee. The roasters want to differentiate themselves, so they want to have new relationships with new producers across the world. And the good thing is, I mean, Central America is pretty close. You know, it's not like Sumatra or Indonesia where you need to travel for 20 hours. You can take a flight, maybe 2 flights, and you're in Canada. So you open a business, you get a business importer license, which costs basically zero. You have a food license permit, which is like $200, right, for 2 years. And then you find some warehousing. That can cost anything between $250 to $3,000, depending on what you have in terms of, you know, coffee quantity. There are some specialized coffee warehousing in Canada. And then you need to go and meet with coffee roasters. There's a bunch of, like I said, small coffee roaster who are super approachable, young and old, who are always looking for great coffee. And then that's it. I mean, that's pretty much it. And then you collect, obviously. You need to sell the coffee and account for it. But, you know, I thought it would be great to try to take a positive aspect to it. You know, the markets sometimes may seem hard to access, but there is a lot of potential in Canada for small producers and large producers, of course, who want to sell their coffee in Canada. Obviously, if you don't want to do all this, you can just reach out to me, and then I can also do the work for you. And this is where we kind of come into play, right? I can speak French, I can speak English. We know the players, so we can help you integrate the market, create your story, you know, pictures, videos, and then put your coffee into our coffee offering. Like I said, we have about 150 different clients across Canada, big and small. So it's super easy for us to add that coffee listing to you, or your coffee to our listing, and then offer it to clients. Yes.
Now, I saw one hand raised, so I will entertain one question. And I notice there's hot coffee in the room, so you can circulate while we're having a discussion here. Please. Do you want to stand up and say who you are? And no? Okay, one from the panel. Did you have a question for Felix? Nothing for you. Preguntas para Felix? We have mics in the room. Por favor. Su Excelencia. Please stand up, there's coffee in the corner.
Yeah. Yes.
The mic, please, so we can hear you online.
My name is Mauricio Ortiz, Ambassador of Costa Rica. It's a pleasure to be here with my colleagues and thank the SICA and the Museum of Agriculture and the leadership of Panama for organizing this and all the people that work here. Thank you for being a buyer of the coffee of our region, not necessarily Costa Rica, but our region. My question is, due to the problems that arose with the supply chain, globally, you mentioned that our region represents, because near how close we are from the markets, the producers, if that is going to have an impact of a higher purchase for the coffee of our region, not necessarily for Costa Rica, I'm speaking for the region, because we are a region that is working together to defend the producers, the workers, that they get paid a better price, that women have more opportunities. So that's one question. And the other question is that, is the Canadian market willing to pay for a higher quality coffee where women, environmental issues, of protection of the environment, no child labor involved?
Yes.
Are the Canadians willing to pay a higher price for each cup? Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Well, so, your first question in regards to supply chain issues, last time we looked at container prices to bring coffee from Costa Rica was not too long ago, maybe a month ago, and the price was not that much. I mean, it was a little higher, but it was not that crazy. I think it was $3,000 US for a 20-foot. So that's still very much acceptable compared to Asian. Even Brazil, I think, was at 7,000 to 10,000, very high. And Asia, I mean, it can just go up to closer to 10 to 15,000. So for sure, in that regard, some countries in Central America do have an advantage over other countries. We looked at container prices from Jamaica, and it was like 2,000. I mean, so that's still very, very reasonable. Your second question is more tricky. I would hope that, yes, people have the appetite to pay more for coffee, but that has a lot of different moving pieces to it, right? I think the buyer, they're still buying at $2, $3 a cup sometimes. So where does that money go is a big question. If the coffee's good, there's a market for it, but there's also a market for cheaper coffees, right? My clients, we deal mostly with coffees that are a lot more expensive and of higher quality, specialty coffee, luxury coffee, like Jamaican coffee. So people pay the price, right? But the work is harder. You need to educate, you need to, show that there's more money coming back. So certification like International Women in Coffee Organization, I mean, fair trade is good, but I mean, sometimes we pay even more for coffee, and it's not even fair trade. So the educational part has a lot to play with it. So people need to understand the work that goes through making a cup of coffee from point A to the roaster. And everybody works very hard across the chain to make it happen.
Speaking about making coffee, we have someone from El Salvador right now, live, many thousands of kilometers away, who will show us over the next 2-3 minutes how to make a good coffee.
Great.
Gloria?
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Ambassador Cohen, for the Dominican coffee.
Hola, buenos días.
Salud.
Hay espacio para una pregunta más. La embajadora quiere hacer una pregunta.
No tengo tiempo.
Lo escuchamos.
Buenos días.
Good morning. Go ahead, we can hear you loud and clear. Good. Welcome, everybody. My name is Samuel Anaya. I am part of the coffee school in El Salvador. This time we're gonna prepare coffee. We're gonna use coffee from El Salvador. One of the best coffees we have is a Pacamara, and we're gonna see how to prepare it. I will use Chemex, as you can see on the screen. This is a tool used for extraction of a filtered coffee. When we have a coffee filter with a paper filter, we need to do this. People wonder what is the perfect recipe for a coffee. There's no perfect recipe. It will depend on the coffee you are preparing. I'm gonna have 25 coffee grams And this 25 grams will be multiplied by 15 to have the total of water for my method. So I have coffee ready. I will grind it.
Muy bien.
Okay, good. Water, the one that I used to clean the filter, I will dispose of it. And everything is ready for our brewing. When we have the coffee in our method, we will humidify all the coffee particles. This process is known as pre-infusion, and this is where coffee releases all the CO2 that is known as blooming. So that helps the coffee to have a better balance. After 30 seconds, I have humidified the coffee. I will add the water for the quantity, which is 25 coffee grams. I do this on a circular manner. The purpose is that each particle can have extraction, equal extraction. That will help us to have good acidity, sweetness, and a balanced flavor, which is normally kind of a little bit of, we're gonna have a delicious coffee. So we will continue adding water, pouring water. So when we have the total of the liquid, we will wait till the end of the filtration. So I have the total of my liquid here, and okay, what is the purpose of doing this with a coffee? We know in the region we have coffees of great quality, specialty coffees, and the purpose is to have this specialty translated into the cup. Often when we feel the coffee smell, we would like to feel it when we taste it. And these are the ways for us to take care of this taste when we will try them. In El Salvador, we have the Salvador Coffee School, where we teach all of us interested in learning about the coffee preparation, all this information, how a coffee is brewed, what ratios, and particularly the result of the producer work. We take care of that. When the coffee grower makes special efforts to have a great coffee, we assure that the coffee will be translated into an excellent drink. So transferring the work of a producer to a good extraction and to enjoy it in the drink. Let's wait, it ends filtering the whole coffee, and we're gonna withdraw the filter. So this way we're gonna have a drink. We're gonna move it. And we proceed to serve, and we serve. So invite everybody to drink coffee from El Salvador and to enjoy it as we do with this wonderful drink known as the God's drink. Thanks, everybody.
And I can, we can smell it from here. And honestly, what you did was fantastic, because there are a lot of baristas, and having traveled a lot, that don't know how to prepare proper coffee. And I'm not talking about the traditional Canadian consumer. I'm meaning people in the business. But fantastic. My thanks. This was very enjoyable. We have one final session, a bit different, the dynamic. We're going to have a panel. of 3 different speakers who are from El Plan Trefina, which is a really beautiful example of regional cooperation between 3 countries of SICA in Central America. We have Marlon Mejia from Honduras, we have Jorge Urbina from El Salvador, and Guillermo Diaz from Guatemala. And I'd like to, maybe if we can, Gloria, we can put all 3 on at the same time. And can one of you explain to us what is the Plan Trefina?
Bueno, si me permite el estimado colega Guillermo Díaz.
If you allow me, if my colleague Guillermo Diaz allow me, you supplement and you correct me. Good morning. Greetings from the Plan Trefina General Secretary. It's a pleasure to be in this event. Very quickly, I would like first to thank for the presentations so far. Excellent. Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador. Interesting, the triple sustainability of Costa Rica, and a little bit intrigued with the tip for producers. Plan Trefina, as you know, is an international organization linked to SICA that is integrated by the government of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, chaired by the 3 vice presidents: the vice president of Guatemala, Mr. Guillermo Castilla; El Salvador vice president, Mauricio, and the designated in Honduras, Gloria Gutierrez. This is the highest level of this commission. On a second level of operational implementation, we have the trinational secretary constituted by country directors and a trinational secretary. Trefina plan, to say this quickly, works essentially in protection of natural areas, protection of biodiversity. We promote resilient agriculture in the face of climate change, innovation and technology transfer, control production in nurseries, plants of fertilizers. We support in the whole water safety and integrated management of water resources. We promote the integration in Central America and a whole strategy of management, cross-border management and cooperation. Trefina plan works on a strategy of economy using a series of strategies of economic reactivation from the different productive chains. The productive chain of legumes, coffee, avocado, dairy, the productive chain of tourism, the artisanal aspect, the productive chain for fruits, which are all the chains. The 3 countries with our teams in the territory provide support and technical assistance. Our target group, our target audiences, and young people, women, and autochthonous people. We intervene in 7,500 square kilometers in an area according to the treaty signed 30 years ago, has been declared as indivisible ecologic unit. With that, we can contribute to the preservation of 3 water basins, Rio Lempa, Motagua, and the 3 of them total more than 50,000 square kilometers. In the punctual topic we are discussing today, the Trefina region has some 40% of soil of land use, which is for coffee production, a productive soil of 15%, and 43% for forests and bushes, and only 0.6% in soil for urban use. The coffee area in Trefina region is some 36,143 hectares. That led us to have a production of some 1.2 million of hundredweights. It means from the point of view of the ratio of coffee production and environmental protection, some 159 million of coffee plants and some 2.5 millions of shade trees. So there is a close relationship between protection of the reserve and biodiversity and the coffee production strategy. Something very important in my view is in the studies carried out, there's 1.2 million of hundredweights of coffee. When we turn this in roasted and grounded coffee, The estimate is around 83 million of coffee pounds. If we multiply this by 10 US dollars, it represents 830 million US dollars. It is the same ratio that exists between the producer and the coffee marketer. So the relationship is that the market, the one that markets, keeps 10% of the value of this production. This is very important because from the perspective of Trefina plan, and I want to say this with due respect, we are not looking for tips for producers. We're looking for fair prices for our coffee. Why am I saying this? In the particular case of El Salvador, we have coffees. We promote a lot the specialty coffees. Three producers were in this visit to Canada. At the end, I'm going to show a 30-second video to introduce our specialty coffee producers. It is important because, and to conclude in the topic of a concept called Excellence Cup, the Excellence Cup of 2022, the three main places in El Salvador, the farm, the Guanacaste firm from the Santana department won first prize with 91.82 points. Geisha Coffee, a natural process. In second place, San Ignacio, Teratenango, Santa Rosa farm with Paramara Coffee, 90% honey. In third place, Palma Teratenango from farm Cueva de la Olla with a blend 83% Bacamara and 30% of wash process. The last 11 editions of the Excellence Cup in El Salvador, the Trifideo region has won 8 of them. And out of the 19 opportunities, we have been present in 13 of them in the 3 first places. The friend that talked about the market for specialty coffee, we are ready to come to the encounter of these specialty coffees with the high quality coffee. Thank you. I'm sorry, Jorge.
It's countries to give their perspectives, so it's more of a balance. We only have about 10 minutes left, if not, even less. Plus, you have your video. So, Guillermo, maybe you can give us your perspective.
Sí, claro. Muy buenos días a todos y un saludo muy.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Greetings from Guatemala to all the friends that are listening to us, and of course, a sincere hug and my appreciation for the organizers of this event. This is amazing and of great benefit for the region. I believe that my colleague Jorge Urbina from El Salvador was broad enough in explaining the Trefino, what Trefino is, what was the original question. The truth is that Trefino, as Jorge said, has a territorial extension of 7,500 square kilometers, more or less, with the convergence of 3 borders, making a territorial region, we could say is an indivisible unit. Historically, culturally, economically, is an indivisible unit. 3 cultures converge, 3 different cultures, indigenous people, and others converge. So that represents a strength for the development of the region. However, I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to say that 57% of this 7,500 square kilometers, more than 50% of this region corresponds to Guatemala. It is a territory represented by 15 municipalities. This is Guatemala's part. However, the Trefino plan has 45 municipalities that constitute the region. I'm saying this because probably those who listen to us don't know in detail the Trefina plan intimately. The most important thing for us is the human development, which is very important. If any region, particularly in Guatemala, implies for the Trefina plan, but I do not have the power to extend to other countries, in Guatemala, if exclusion is marked in the exclusion and the development is marked is in this region, because there are many variables that affect poverty of people. That is why we found that in Guatemala, in the national territory, we have a human development below the growth and human development of the three countries. It implies that poverty has a lot of incidence, and we could even say causes are also on the climate change aspect. Climate change represents an adverse factor for the economic development of the region. However, the population has been able to establish a system, a resiliency system, as self-support and cooperation system in critical times. We made an exercise of a master plan representing the baseline study, the base study. The region did not have statistics. Now we can say appropriately that in the case of Guatemala, and in the particular case of the population, of the poor population, we have 83% of the population with scarce resources and with the category of extreme poverty. 46% of this population does not have or does not have food or suffers from food safety. Imagine APEA does not receive revenues or are looking for work, and 40%. These are data that were just obtained after carrying out this base participatory study. The document is called Participatory Master Plan, and we thank and we want to thank the Inter-American Development Bank for the support for this document. But going back,
You're right, Guillermo, about the Human Development Index, I think the annual revenues for a coffee producer is about $4,500 a year. Compared to Canada, it's about just the cost of living in Ottawa is like $28,000-$30,000. So it gives you an idea of the differences with the reality on the ground there. Marlon, please give us your perspective. And I just want to let the people online know that we're going to continue the discussion here in Ottawa live in person. But we will need to, if you find that there's a reason why we suddenly cut off, because we've hit the 2-hour mark and we're going over slightly, so you may be not able to continue this discussion, but I invite people in the room to stay to follow the conversation with us over the next 5-6 minutes. So please, Marlon, give us your Honduran perspective.
Hola, buenas.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Un saludo muy especial.
Thank you. Warm greetings from the beautiful country of Honduras. And I'm located in the department and city of San Marcos, Utepeque. So greetings to everyone, all panelists and others. Guillermo and Jorge have already provided a lot of detailed information on the Trefina plan. I would like to share some information from Honduras. The Trefina region in Honduras covers about 19 municipalities with coffee growers along the border areas. And it's about 17,000 hectares of coffee, producing over 625,000 quintals You have about 10,700 coffee growers in that area. This area also has about 800,000 people living there with vocational forestry land, and we also have some livestock farming, coffee, and grain crops. As for the perspectives of the Trefina plan, many important factors have to be considered so we can standardize. It's important to ensure we coordinate among institutions so that they can be well integrated, and that way we can better achieve the goals and objectives of the plan. We also have a large population of young people and women that are involved in coffee growing activities. And so this also means that we have to ensure participation from all stakeholders to be successful. The Trefina plan, as we heard, is very important for us. It's very important for all the coffee producing areas. We ensure that we have shared action, and there's many aspects that we share in common. So I'm sure that together we can achieve success for our coffee growing families. We are going through very difficult situations today. We have to ensure we have climate adaptability, sustainability for our families, because we are always trying to ensure sustainability for our producers. Again, we also have the issue of young people, not many young people wanting to follow the steps of their parents as coffee producers. So we need to have very clear ideas and take specific steps to change this. In the Trefina plan, I know that we have that support. As a representative of coffee in the region, we have also been involved in the Trefina working group, a special platform that provides technical support, combining all three institutes of Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. And so we have been able to provide better information and to train young people and women to be involved in the larger group of producers.
Perspectives at the agriculture labor is an issue globally. There's rural exodus in Canada. The domestic labor force, the gap in agriculture is about 60,000 workers. And so I was talking to coffee producers yesterday at the fair, and they were talking about their mano de obra problems in their country. And all the youth are leaving for jobs in the city or leaving the country. So it's a global issue. I'm very familiar with the issue here in Canada. About 45,000 workers come from abroad to fill in the gap, especially from Central America, Mexico and Jamaica. We're out of time. I wish we had more time to dedicate. I would like to invite you to put in the chat any data, your websites, numbers that you'd like to share with the public. Else, I'd like to remind people in the room too that the museum, our partner, will be doing work on labor in the agriculture sector as a theme here over the coming months. I don't know when the opening is.
Si me permite, solo quisiera dar las gracias.
If you allow me, I would like to thank our ambassador of Central America.
Maybe we can do that and then we can close. So I'd like to end with that. I'd like to invite everyone in the room to thank the panelists. From Plan Trefina, and really you're doing an amazing job. It's a wonderful regional initiative. I wish you much continued success, and ICA continues to work with El Plan. My thanks to everyone in the room for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. I'd like to maybe toast our coffee producers. We owe it to them. I know there's a couple of people in the room. Salud. Salud. And that's it for us from Ottawa. Take good care, stay safe. Thanks for being with us today. Bye-bye, everyone. Picture, please.